Earlier today, we were joined in the studio by the CEO of the charity Save the Congo, Vava Tampa, and we started by asking him about life for ordinary people in the DRC.
It's really awful. Thank God the M24 has now been defeated. We now have to deal with other militia gangs, such as the FDLR, which should be taken out by the UN peacekeeping forces in the next couple of days, and perhaps also the Congolese army will take part in it. But life has been incredibly tough, incredibly difficult. Since 1998, when Rwanda led an invasion of Congo, over 6 million people have been killed. But that's just one side of the story. The other side of the story is actually the way rape has been used as a weapon of war. That is essentially using rape to displace people, to punish community, to destroy family, to do all sorts of things, to essentially instill fear amongst the local people. So that is one of the things that has actually destroyed that country.
What is your organisation doing to combat these sorts of problems? Because if you look at DRC as a country, in the capital, Kinshasa, there's a very different feeling to what happens in rural areas, which are so remote.
Well, people in Kinshasa, which is quite distant from where the actual crisis is taking place, know and understand what is going on in that country, but we live in a dictatorship. You have a government which is not liked or even which was not elected by the locals. So no one can essentially rise up and speak against the government. That's one of the reasons people in Kinshasa have been quiet. But as we've seen recently, last January, people have been on the street protesting and asking Kabila to go, which has been one of the core issues we had been advocating. So back to Save the Congo, while we do essentially sort of raising awareness, so talking about these kind of issues, trying to change policies here in the UK as well as in the US and in New York as well as in Brussels or Paris. So those are the kind of things we've been, we've been championing.
As you say, we've had all these protests so that the President, Joseph Kabila, can't amend the Constitution and therefore stand again for President in 2016. How much of a groundswell is that to stop him doing that? And what more help do people in DRC need from the international community to be able to stand up to him?
Well, the groundswell has been amazing. I mean, you need to realize sort of the protest began on January 19th. The reason the protest began because the government attempted to change the constitution, as you mentioned, on Saturday the 17th, which was actually a Saturday, and no parliament functions on a Saturday. And this was a Saturday bank holiday, the day Lumumba was killed. So on Monday, the following day, people were on the street across Kinshasa and across the country. On the following day, on Tuesday, Wednesday, the government decided to shut down the internet and SMS services. But nonetheless, the protest expanded and went as far as Goma in the east. And the distance between Kinshasa and Goma is the same as the distance between London and Moscow. But nonetheless, the protest expanded. So there is appetite and there is anger and frustration. People want Kabila go. And in terms of the international community, this is the first time we actually seeing the Congolese people taking their own destiny by their own hands, sort of defining what they want and how the international community should behave. And thank God that the international community has also followed suit. They have essentially voiced and supported and second every single thing the locals have been advancing.
It's wonderful to have support from the international community, but what good is it if you have corruption?
Well, I mean, again, there is this saying in Africa, behind every dictatorship or every corruption, there is a Western power. So you cannot have, corruption simply by the sake of corruption. Behind all of this, there is, Western multinational companies mining in really cruel areas and so forth. So there is a mood locally that things are changing and things will change. And I think the Western government here in the UK, in the US and Paris and so forth understand that locals essentially want things to change and to change for good.
Okay, so if things do change, what's the alternative, the viable alternative to change all these problems that DRC has? Is there someone who can take over from Kabila?
Oh, there are a lot of people. Congo does not like talent. We have seen the likes of Martin Fayulu on the street leading local protests. So there are a lot of people. The issues of Congo has never been that there isn't any alternative to Kabila. The issues in Congo has always been that the West, I mean, if you go, but this goes back into the 1960s, whenever we've had elections in Congo, local vote for one element, one candidate, and the West vote for another. So in 1960 we had Lumumba. We voted for Lumumba, and the West clearly didn't like Lumumba, so Lumumba was killed, within a couple of weeks in office. And the same things happened in 2000. 2006, Jean-Pierre Bemba was essentially squeezed on one corner. In 2011, Etienne Tshisekedi was squeezed in one corner as well. So there is a chance that in 2016, if we do not play our card right, that we will be squeezed in one corner as well.